She said, "I'm not your maid." When I asked her to help clean once after keeping our place spotless for 3 years, I said, "Neither am I." She returned to find a housekeeper polishing my new partner's shoes. There is a certain kind of order and discipline that gets drilled into you in the military. It is not just about making your bed or shining your boots. It is a mindset. It is about understanding that small efforts done consistently prevent catastrophic failures later. It is about respecting your environment, your equipment, and yourself. For the 8 years I was in the Army, that discipline kept me and my men safe. For the last 3 years, it has just been keeping my house clean, a task I apparently performed alone. I live in a 2-bedroom house that I bought with my savings a year before I met my now ex-girlfriend, Brenda. It is my sanctuary, a place of order in a chaotic world. My job as a project manager for a large construction firm is demanding, but I have always made time to maintain my home. Every Saturday morning, I would do a full top-to-bottom clean. Floors, bathrooms, kitchen, everything. During the week, I was the one who did the dishes after dinner, who took out the trash, who made sure the laundry was done. I did it because I take pride in my home. I did it because I thought I was building a life with a partner. Brenda did not share my mindset. She treated our home like a self-cleaning hotel. Clothes were dropped where they were taken off. Dishes were left in the sink for days. Her idea of helping was to push the clutter on her side of the bedroom into a slightly neater pile. For 3 years, I tolerated it. I would talk to her about it, and she would just laugh it off. "Oh, Alex, you are just so much better at it than I am," she would say, as if her incompetence were a compliment. I told myself it was a small price to pay for the good times. I now realize I was not paying a price. I was just paying for everything. The breaking point did not come on a normal day. It came after one of the most grueling weeks of my career. We had a major project deadline, and I had been working 14-hour days, living on stale coffee and adrenaline. I came home last Friday night feeling like I had been hit by a truck. My entire body ached. All I wanted was a hot shower and a quiet night. The house was a disaster. Brenda had apparently had friends over the night before. There were empty wine glasses and plates on the coffee table, throw pillows on the floor, and the kitchen looked like a bomb had gone off. Normally, I would have just sighed and started cleaning. But on this night, I did not have it in me. Brenda was in the bedroom, getting ready to go out again. She was putting on makeup, humming to some song on the radio. I stood in the doorway, exhausted. "Hey, Brenda," I said, my voice rough with fatigue. "I am really beat. Can I ask you for a favor? Could you please just help me out a little bit tonight? Just load the dishwasher and wipe down the counters. It would be a huge help." She did not even turn around. She just looked at my reflection in her vanity mirror. She scoffed, a short, sharp, ugly sound. "Seriously? Alex, I am getting ready to go out. I have plans. I do not have time to clean up your kitchen." "My kitchen?" I said, a dangerous edge creeping into my voice. "This mess is from you and your friends." That is when she finally turned to face me, her expression one of pure, unadulterated annoyance. "Look, I told you I am not a 1950s housewife. I am not your maid. I am not your maid." 3 years of me silently cleaning up her messes. 3 years of me maintaining the home she treated like a crash pad. 3 years of me doing the work of 2 people. And that was her response. The line was not just drawn, it was carved into my soul. The fatigue I felt was replaced by a sudden, shocking clarity. My military training kicked in. When faced with an untenable situation, you do not argue. You assess, you adapt, and you act. I looked at her perfectly applied makeup and her expensive dress, the one I knew had been bought with my money. I looked at the disaster in the kitchen behind me. And then I looked back at her. "Neither am I," I said. Then I turned around, walked into the living room and sat down on the couch, right in the middle of the mess. She stared at me for a second, expecting a fight. When she did not get one, she just rolled her eyes, grabbed her purse and left, slamming the door behind her. As soon as I heard her car pull out of the driveway, I acted. I did not clean the mess. That mess was a monument to her disrespect and I was going to leave it there for her to admire. Instead, I opened my laptop. I spent an hour researching professional housekeeping services in my area. I found a highly rated, bonded, and insured company and booked their most comprehensive service, a 4-hour deep clean, scheduled for exactly 1 week from today. Then I went to the garage. Tucked away on a high shelf were the sturdy, uniform-moving boxes for my last move, the one before I met her. I brought them inside and began to pack. Not my things. Hers. I started with the living room, gathering up her magazines, her trinkets, her collection of scented candles that she never lit. When she came home around 2 in the morning, smelling of perfume and wine, she was surprised to see me awake. She was even more surprised to see a stack of neatly taped boxes in the corner of the room. "What is all that?" she asked, a little nervous. "You said you are not my maid," I said calmly, looking up from my laptop. "And I said I am not yours. It seems we are not compatible as cohabitants. This partnership, on a fundamental level, has failed. So I have made a decision. It is time for you to move out." She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing. She thought I was joking, that it was some kind of dramatic overreaction to her comment. "You are kicking me out? Over a stupid comment? Because I did not want to do the dishes?" "No," I said, closing my laptop and giving her my full attention. "I am not kicking you out because you refuse to do the dishes. I am ending our arrangement because you revealed that you see any contribution to this household as a chore fit for a servant. For 3 years I have been that servant, and my service is now officially over. You have 1 week, 7 days, to pack the rest of your things and leave my house." She stood there, stunned into silence. For 3 years, I had run a 5-star hotel for a permanent guest who never, ever tipped. I had just handed her the bill, and the hotel was closing. The week that followed was a slow, painful education for Brenda on the difference between a partner and a provider. She spent the first 2 days in a state of defiant denial. She refused to pack. She tried to act as if everything was normal, making small talk, asking what I wanted for dinner. I responded with polite, one-word answers and made myself a sandwich. She clearly believed this was a bluff, a dramatic gesture, and that I would eventually get over it, and things would go back to the way they were. I did not get over it. I was a rock. I slept in the spare bedroom. I went to work, came home, and if she was there, I would go to my workshop in the garage and work on my projects. I did not engage. I did not argue. Each evening, I would give her a simple, calm update. "You have 5 days left to arrange for your things to be moved. You have 4 days left." The calm, relentless pressure was far more effective than yelling would have been. By day 3, her denial started to crack, and the anger set in. She accused me of being a controlling monster, of trying to punish her for one little comment. "It was not the comment, Brenda," I told her coolly. "It was the truth behind it. It was the complete and total lack of respect for me and for this home." While she was cycling through her stages of grief, I was systematically disentangling our lives. I called the credit card company and had her supplementary card canceled. The customer service representative, a very helpful woman, asked if I wanted a rundown of recent charges. I said yes. It turned out that Brenda had spent over $2,000 in the last month on clothes, salon appointments, and expensive lunches with friends, all while I was working overtime to fund our life. The information was not surprising, but it was validating. It was more proof that I was making the right decision. I changed the passwords on all our shared streaming accounts. I took her off my car insurance policy for the vehicle she drove, which was in my name. I was erasing her from my life, one logistical step at a time. On the final day, day 7, I came home from work to find the house exactly as it had been. Her things were still everywhere. She had not packed a single item. She was sitting on the couch, watching television, a defiant look on her face. She was calling my bluff. She truly believed I did not have the conviction to see this through. I stood in the living room for a moment, then just nodded. "Okay," I said. "I gave you a week." I pulled out my phone and made a call. "Hi, is this Rapid Response Movers?" "Yes, my name is Alex. We spoke earlier this week. I need to confirm my appointment for this evening." Brenda's head snapped up. Her eyes went wide. "Who is that? Who are you calling?" "I am calling the movers I put on standby 5 days ago." I said, "I had hoped you would handle this yourself, with some dignity. You chose not to. So, I will handle it for you." An hour later, a large moving truck pulled up to the house. 2 professional movers came to the door. I had already prepared a list for them. It was very specific. Every item of women's clothing, every pair of shoes, all the contents of the bathroom vanity, and all the decorative items I knew she had purchased. They were to pack it all. Brenda had a complete meltdown. She screamed, she cried, she accused me of being the cruelest man alive. She tried to block the movers from entering her room. They were professionals. They just stood there patiently, waiting for me to handle the situation. "Brenda," I said, my voice cutting through her hysterics. "You have 2 choices. You can step aside and let these gentlemen do the job I'm paying them to do, or I can call the police and have you removed from my property for trespassing. Since you have not paid rent or contributed to this household in 3 years, you have absolutely no legal right to be here. The choice is yours." She knew I was not bluffing anymore. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, as the movers efficiently and impersonally packed up her life. She made a series of frantic calls to her friends, then finally to her parents. From her side of the conversation, it was clear no one was rushing to her rescue. When everything was loaded onto the truck, the crew leader asked me for the destination address. Brenda, speaking through her tears, gave him her parents' address. Her final humiliation was having to retreat back home like a teenager who had broken curfew. After the truck pulled away, I was left alone in my house. It was a mess from the hasty move, but it felt cleaner than it had in years. The very next morning, the professional housekeeping service I had booked arrived. For 4 hours, a team of 2 cleaners scrubbed my house from top to bottom. They cleaned the floors, washed the windows, and sanitized the kitchen and bathrooms. When they were finished, the house did not just look clean, it felt clean. It was a complete reset. I was not just cleaning my house. I was cleaning my life, preparing the foundation for whatever came next. Final update: it has been 1 year since what my friends now refer to as the Great Cleanout. The months that followed Brenda's departure were a period of profound peace and productivity. With my home life orderly and stress-free, I found I had more energy and focus for my job. I was promoted to Senior Project Director 6 months ago, a position that came with a significant pay raise and more reasonable hours. My house stayed immaculately clean, thanks to a wonderful weekly housekeeping service run by a woman named Maria. For the first time, I had a home that was a place of rest, not a source of endless work. About 8 months ago, I met someone. Her name is Clara. I met her at a charity event, a home building project for veterans. I was volunteering my project management skills, and she, an architect, was volunteering her design expertise. We bonded over blueprints and power tools. She is smart, driven, independent, and has a laugh that can fill a whole room. She respects what I do for a living because she is a builder, too. We started dating, and it was different from the very beginning. It was a partnership of equals. 4 months ago, Clara and I decided to take the next step. She sold her small condo and moved in with me. We did not just merge our lives, we built a new one together. She brought her own style to the house, and I loved it. We cook together, we clean up together, we talk about our days, our goals, our dreams. It is easy. It is right. Now, for the part of the story that brings everything full circle. Last week, a piece of mail for Brenda arrived at my house by mistake. It was from a collections agency. I had no interest in seeing her, so I texted her, telling her she could pick it up from my front porch at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, a time I knew Clara and I would be out. Apparently, Brenda decided to come early. On Saturday morning around 9, Clara and I were just getting ready to leave. Maria, our housekeeper, was just finishing her weekly cleaning. She always ends her work by polishing our shoes for the week ahead and leaving them by the door. It is a small, old-fashioned service she provides, and one I find incredibly thoughtful. As I was grabbing my keys, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Brenda standing on my porch. She looked different. Thinner. Tired. The confident, defiant woman from a year ago was gone, replaced by someone who looked worn down by the world. She opened her mouth to speak, but froze. Her eyes, looking past me, into my living room. I knew what she was seeing. She saw Maria, our housekeeper, on her hands and knees, carefully applying polish to a pair of beautiful, elegant leather boots. Clara's boots. Just then, Clara came down the stairs, looking chic and professional in her weekend attire. "Oh, Maria, you do not have to do that every week," she said with a warm smile. But thank you, Maria smiled back. It is my pleasure, Miss Clara. They are all finished. Clara walked over, picked up her freshly polished boots, and then noticed Brenda standing on the porch. She gave me a questioning look. Brenda, this is my partner, Clara, I said calmly. Clara, this is Brenda. She is here to pick up some mail. Brenda could not speak. She just stared at the scene in front of her. This was the consequence she could have never predicted. It was not about me being with someone new. It was about the entire picture. Her replacement was not a new maid. Her replacement was a successful, equal partner. The housekeeper was not there to serve a man. She was there to maintain a home for two busy professionals who valued their time and respected each other. The polished shoes were not a symbol of servitude. They were a symbol of a life so well managed, so successful, that such small luxuries were just a part of the weekly routine. A life she had thrown away because she was too lazy and too proud to load a dishwasher. Clara, sensing the awkwardness, politely took the letter from the mail table and handed it to Brenda. Here you are, she said. Have a good day. I said nothing, I just gave Brenda a final, neutral nod and closed the door. Through the window I watched her walk away. She did not look back. I have heard through mutual acquaintances that she is still living with her parents, working a retail job she hates. She complains constantly about how unfair life is, how I overreacted and ruined everything for her. She still does not get it. I did not ruin her life. She had a winning lottery ticket in her hand, and she threw it away because she did not feel like scratching it off. Later that day, Clara and I were working in the garden together, our hands covered in dirt. She stopped, looked at me, and said, "You know, for a guy who hires a housekeeper, you are not afraid to get your hands dirty." "Some work is a chore," I said, smiling at her, "and some work is a joy." And for the first time in a very long time, my life felt full of joy, not chores. The ultimate revenge was not kicking her out, it was building a better life, a life of true partnership in the clean, orderly space she left behind.